We're on the phone with Jason Kersey. Jason is the Oklahoma Sooners football beat writer for the Oklahoman. And he has been in Muleshoe just recently writing a profile story about OU's new offensive coordinator, who, of course, is Lincoln Riley, who grew up right here in the Mule Memorial City. Now, Jason, when will this story be published in the Oklahoman?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. This story will be in the Sunday newspaper, and it'll probably be on our website, newsok.com, on Saturday evening.
Give us that address again online.
Yeah, newsok.com.
Newsok.com. And it'll come out the same day. That is going to be July the what?
Sunday. I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay. The 12th.
The 12th.
Yes. Well, now tell me about this story that you wrote. You actually came to Muleshoe, right?
Yes, I was in Muleshoe a couple of weeks ago. We've wanted to do a big story about Lincoln, a big story about who he is and where he's from for a while. My boss suggested that I go out there and find out about Lincoln Riley's past and where he's from. And to be honest with you, the name Muleshoe is it's just a cool town name, and that was sort of intriguing at first too. Somebody comes from Muleshoe, Texas. What a neat name for a town. And so I went out there with my photographer, Brian Terry, came with me, and we visited with a dozen people probably from Muleshoe, either while we were there or while we or on the phone since then. And so it was really a great experience, and we had a wonderful time out there.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Now, who were some of the people you interviewed about Lincoln Riley?
Yeah, well, I talked to his parents, obviously, Mike and Marilyn Riley. They were some of the first people that I got in contact with when I wanted to do this story, and Marilyn gave me a big list of names of people that I ought to talk to, and so I did. I went through. I talked to Bob Graves, who I found out is the biggest OU fan.
That's the truth.
In Muleshoe. I talked to his brother Garrett on the phone. He's up in East Carolina, but I talked to him on the phone. I talked to Stacy and Debbie Connor over at the First Baptist Church. I talked to David Jenkins, the old principal at Muleshoe. I stopped in at the Williams General Store and talked to Roger Williams for a while. I went by City Hall and talked to David Brunson, the city manager, and Colt Ellis, the mayor pro tem. So I really got around. I talked to a lot of people.
Well, it sounds like you did. Did you get to talk to his grandparents?
I did not get a chance to talk to them. No, that was one. Those were a couple of people that I never got the chance to talk to. I wish I had.
Well, they're very proud of Lincoln, as we all are here in Muleshoe. Let's talk a little bit about you. How long have you been with the Oklahoman?
Yeah, I started at the Oklahoman in November of 2006. I started as a part-time guy. I was still in college at the time, and I typed in standings and results and answered the phone on Friday nights when people would call in the football box scores, and I've kind of worked my way up from there. I designed pages for a while. I covered high school sports for a while, and now this is going to be my fourth season covering OU football.
Oh, great! Well, now did you play the actual game of football yourself?
I did when I was in high school. I played for. I'm from a small town myself. It's a town called Noble, Oklahoma. So I played for the Noble Bears football team. Noble's just south of Norman, so I grew up right in this area.
You sure did.
Certainly wasn't good enough to play in college.
And so, where did you go to college?
I actually went to and graduated from OU.
And now I know that's a thrill to be covering their beat there for the Sooners. Now, the Sooners are going to be playing the Red Raiders this fall and every fall, we hope. But what do you think? How is Lincoln going to handle this? Will it just be another game to him? What do you think?
Well, I think that it might be a little bit harder for him if Mike Leach was still the coach out there, because that was his coach that he coached under out there. So
Right.
It might be a little different since it's a different coaching staff now. But I'm sure there'll be some nostalgic feelings for him a little bit. But I think a lot of times these coaches, I've been around these coaches for a few years now, and a lot of times they, when they have a job, they learn how to separate all that stuff and focus on the team that they're with at the moment.
Well, they certainly do if they become good coaches, and we think that Lincoln has certainly been a good coach and is a good coach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And everybody here's pretty excited about him. I remember when he got hired in January, there's a lot of excitement about Lincoln around here because he's so young. He's such a he's considered, as I'm sure he's considered one of the top offensive minds in the country at such a young age, and he's really a rising star in the coaching world. So people in Oklahoma are pretty excited to see what he can do.
We're so glad to hear that. Now, tell me a little bit back about you. What has been the most thrilling game you have ever covered yourself for the Oklahoman?
That's a great question. There have been a bunch. There were several when I was on the high school beat that were really good, but I would probably have to go with 3 years ago, November of 2012. OU played at West Virginia and won that game 50-49, and it was just a back and forth the whole time. Player for West Virginia named Tavon Austin had something like 550 or so total yards of offense. OU just couldn't figure out how to stop him, and it was so back and forth and exciting. So I would probably have to say that.
Well, I think that would be a good one to be there and cover. Now, had you ever been to Muleshoe before you came on the Lincoln Riley story?
No, ma'am, I had not. I'd never been to Muleshoe before. I'd never really been. The closest to Muleshoe I'd probably gotten was Lubbock when I've come down to cover OU Texas Tech games. So,
sure.
No, I had never made it out to Muleshoe, but like I said, we really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. If you were going to tell your buddy about Muleshoe, what would you say about the town of Muleshoe?
Well, I would tell people that it's a really neat community. That people there, are hardworking. From what I could tell, that it's sort of an old farming community. And mainly, what I would tell people, and what I have told people since I got back, is just how nice everybody is there. I couldn't believe how nice everybody was. It reminded me a lot of some of the small towns I've been to in Oklahoma, and I told Marilyn Riley this early on in the process. I'm a small town guy. I love small towns. I'm from a small town. I enjoy visiting new ones, and so to me, the way that I was received by the people of Muleshoe was really, really neat, and I'll always remember that.
Well, we're so glad to hear that. Jason Kersey, we have been talking with, and we want you to be sure and go online and read that story. And if you can get a hold of the Oklahoman this Sunday, it is the July 12th edition, and it will be in your sports section, and a story about Muleshoe's own Lincoln Riley, the new OU offensive coordinator for the Sooners. Thank you so much for your time, Jason.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, and thank you for everything throughout for helping us out with all this.
It was our pleasure. Give us again the online address for the Oklahoman.
Yeah, you can read that. It's newsok.com.
Newsok.com. Thanks again.